Thank you for being here tonight, ladies. Tonight we're going to talk about excitement versus anxiety. And the reason being that if you don't recognize in yourself when it's excitement, which most of us think of as a joyful thing, or when it's anxiety. And so if you don't recognize the difference in that, it will affect how you be able to receive your joy and the excitement, and then be able to address the anxiety. When I was driving here tonight, we all know the traffic was a little crazy all the time, but this one car, he was going to come over into my lane. And it was just enough of that reaction of, I need to react to get out of his way, that I got an adrenaline shot. And I could feel it in my bloodstream. Just that, just that one little incident, that was not excitement, that was anxiety. And when we have anxiety, it's to cause us to act. The adrenaline in our system is to cause us to act. And if we're chronically anxious, then we chronically have adrenaline pumping through our system, and that is very, very negative. So if we begin to recognize the difference between excitement and anxiety, and if you're just sitting in your chair at home and you've got anxiety pumping through you, that's very, very, very unhealthy. And you need to think about what's going on with me. Why am I suddenly feeling this? Could be you were watching a program and you had a transderivational search, where suddenly it brought up something from your past. I pointed the wrong way. Something from your past, depending on which way you gather your memories from, that triggered you, unconsciously even, to be feeling anxious. So our awareness, we're trying to build our awareness so that we're not working against ourselves, not actually taking some of our joy away by, there's cough drops in that black bag there, Susie, if you would get her one. It might help. So we want to be experiencing excitement in the way that excitement is supposed to be, and not confuse it with anxiety, but also not let anxiety be happening at times. You can have both actually at the same time, and that's what our cover is going to show tonight, is that they do interact. They do cross over on the border of depression and anxiety, but we're talking about excitement and anxiety. This is by anxiety.org, by the way. You might want to look them up and get some more information. But how they cross over, and then there's this kind of in-between area where you're having extra emotions as well. So let's go ahead and get started on the differences between the two. And I want to start out by saying that excitement in the physics of it, is to raise your system to a higher level. Excitement, joy, you get enthusiasm and it's fun. So that's when the physics of it is to raise your system to a higher level. So we're going to go through these and have Diane's going to write a few of them on the board for us. Go ahead and get ready. Diane, this is Diane. Go ahead and come up. We don't want you just seeing her backside. Okay, so one of the things, and you can be thinking along as well, what you feel when you are excited. What things are going on in you physically, what's going on in you mentally, emotionally, that kind of thing. So go ahead and shoot some ideas to us, and we'll put those on the board as well as the ones that I will give you on your handout list. So let's talk about that for a moment. Anyone want to give me a word or?
Joy.
Joy, okay, good. Joy, joyful. Good.
I feel a lot of energy when I'm excited.
Energy, good. Good. It energizes you. And the thing about it is that excitement equals readiness, that you're ready for whatever it is. There's no dread. There's no sense of dread in that. Okay, anyone else?
Bubbly kind of comes to mind.
Lovely.
No, bubbly.
Oh, bubbly, okay.
Bubbly.
Bubbly, sure.
Like that anticipating.
Good. That's a good one.
Giddy,
Bubbly.
giddy, I guess. Giddy, bubbly.
Okay. Anyone else?
Elation, that's the same.
Elated,
Yeah.
which means elevation. Elated. Does the day feel lighter and brighter? So it would be, maybe you just put the word lighter, because everything feels lighter when you're excited, doesn't it?
Hopeful.
Hopeful, that's a good one. Good one. Is it comforting when you're excited? It is. Comfort we tend to think of as a quiet kind of like in a blankie, but it's very comforting to have joy. And it does add to your whole outlook on everything.
I think you said it, Kitty, anticipation.
Good, okay, anticipation. So anticipating something good or fun. And that is,
Good anticipation.
yeah. Can everybody see that list? I'm also going to give you several on your handout. Okay, is it healthy to be excited? Yes, it is. So it's actually giving more health to your body. You don't, in the opposite with anxiety, where it drags you down and you end up feeling wiped out and, that empty void that can happen. So it's actually strengthening. And we didn't have that on there, but the stimulation of all of your senses, it makes your senses more acute. You're living, you're alive, you're feeling life. And the thing about it when you're excited is generally that's what's going to be in your mind, whatever it is that you're excited about. So it kind of overtakes your thinking processes in a joyful way that kind of takes away the other stuff. So it's actually very important to have these times of excitement, right? Let's see, what else I have here. I think we got them all. Oh, I don't think we mentioned this one. When you are happy or excited, does that discourage you or does that encourage you?
Encourage.
So it's encouraging to be excited. And I have in big letters on my list alive, which we kind of,
Did we do a lot?
well, we kind of covered it as we talked about lighter and, oh, there it is,
Alive.
bubbly alive. Good.
Bubbly alive.
Okay,
It could also give you vision.
good point. Very good point.
was
So by that, you're seeing more clearly something that is before you as far as a direction to go. I like that. Yeah. Good. Very good. Anyone else? When you are excited. And see, part of our problem, women, ladies, struggling with depression and anxiety, we don't have enough of this. And my goal is to help you have more of that and to embrace it and to recognize the difference. Because if you think anxiety and excitement are synonymous, that's not a good thing because they're not synonymous at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at the physiology of anxiety. In the short term, anxiety prepares us to confront a crisis by putting the body on alert. But its physical effects can be counterproductive, causing lightheadedness, diarrhea, and frequent urination. And when it persists, anxiety can take a toll on our mental and physical health. Interesting, isn't it? That it makes you urinate more. That's not my problem. Not because I'm anxious. Edit. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so let's talk about anxiety. What are some of the things that you feel within your body that you're able, and I'm helping you put your thumb on things tonight, that I want you to recognize, oh, I didn't really think about it. I didn't realize I was feeling all of that when I'm anxious. And if you don't know you're feeling it, what can you do about it? You know, so this is ammunition to help you begin to recognize when it is excitement or when it is anxiety, and if it's anxiety, to be able to address it. Okay? So what are some of the things that you've noticed that you feel when you're anxious? Diane, be ready there. You can. Am I in your way? Nope.
I feel lightheaded. Are we doing physical symptoms?
Yes, mental, emotional, physical.
So lightheaded.
All of the above. Stress.
Lightheaded.
Lightheaded.
Stress.
Excuse me?
Stress.
Tension.
Terrified.
Terrified. What's it do to your energy?
Sluggish.
Yep. So anxiety takes energy, excitement gives energy. See the huge contrast there?
Wait, lightheaded, stress, what came before
Fear.
brain? Fear, fearful? Fear?
Yes, fear. Fear is, we don't like to call it that, but that's what it is. It is. We're fearing something, or
Tense.
something,
Tense.
a bit of foreboding, or something
Yeah.
that's
Tense.
Dread.
dread. Yep. Of what? That's the question, because I have dread on my list, but what is the dread of? And sometimes
Fear.
we just don't nail that
Everything.
down.
It's fear.
Yeah.
It's a panic. It's a panic
Mhm.
that you dread. You can't get out of it.
We're talking about the physiology, and
just-
that would include not only the physical, but mental, emotional, even spiritual. That you're getting, let's call them the ripple effect in your spirituality.
Doubt.
That can cause doubt, exactly.
Blockage.
Good. Get those?
Blockage, nope, don't blockage.
I think of stomach
Spiritual
ache with things.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
that's true too.
I was saying flutters in your stomach.
Migraines.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Flutters in your stomach.
I get lightheaded because my breathing gets very shallow.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It does.
That's a
affect
very
your
good
breathing.
point. And when your breathing gets shallow, you're not oxygenating your body enough, and your sympathetic nervous system is on high alert. Parasympathetic nervous system is when you breathe deeply, quiet yourself,
Shaking?
calm yourself. Yeah, anxiety, sure, you definitely could be
Shaky.
shaking.
Yeah. Irritable.
Shaky. Yep, irritable,
What about self-hate?
feel self-hate,
What's the
Mm.
word?
recriminations, is kind of recriminations, picking on yourself.
Being hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're
Not
gonna,
worthy.
you're not gonna make it, you're not gonna.
She just
you're
said
not
not
capable.
worthy.
Not
Unworthy.
worthy. Why am I having this?
Unworthy.
I must not be
Okay.
a good person or something. No. Kind of.
And one of my points on my list that I'll give out, Susie, addresses that by saying this. It's often prompted by a faulty belief system. Anxiety is often prompted by a faulty belief system. In other words, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or I've always failed at this, or
Worry. Comes from
Mm,
worry.
yes.
Worry.
Worry,
Excessive worry,
absolutely.
but you can't
Yes.
control.
It's an
And what do you
uncomfortable
think what's going on in your body if you're in like a panic attack or just feeling anxious? What is that doing to your body chemistry?
Changes
You
everything.
actually release toxic chemicals
That's
in your
exactly
in your
right.
body.
Yep, you're making yourself toxic, but guess what? If you're around other people and that's what's happening with you, you're toxic to them as well.
Spillage.
And don't realize that you're actually passing off. We can pick it up in people. We may not know exactly what's going on with them, but it may make us want to back away a little bit. Or it makes us want to solve it, depending on our temperament. Like, oh, I'm going to make you feel better. You know, which is not a realistic thing to do, but. Okay, anyone else, can you think of any mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual thing that is happening to you during anxiety? Does it make you more social?
Isolation.
That's exactly right.
Like it's never gonna end,
Mm-hmm.
like a circular thing that doesn't end.
Good. And it can turn into circular thinking, to where you go through this thinking pattern, you start up here and you're thinking this thought, and that leads to this thought, and this thought, and this thought. And pretty soon you're back to that first thought, and it just, you can, like you said, get stuck in it.
Kind of like it escalates though too.
Mm-hmm. If you don't break it, if you don't be kind to yourself, give yourself grace, figure out, what are you needing? What are you needing? If you're feeling anxious, what do you need? And some of us think, oh my gosh, that's selfish.
Yep.
It is. It isn't.
That's my.
Nope.
Yeah, it is not selfish to give yourself what you need. I'll tell you what is selfish is not figuring out what you need. Because it's not helping you and it's not helping others either. So once you start thinking in these terms of the effect that anxiety is having on you, it's taking your health, it's taking your future, it's shortening your life. And the people in your realm of influence sure aren't benefiting from you being anxious. They may be like Miss Fix-It and want to fix everything so that you're not anxious, which of course is a very big waste of time. So I'm just going to go through this and we'll see how many we got. I think we got quite a few. Fear, apprehension, dread of, question mark, question mark. What are you dreading? We can be feeling that dread and not even identify what it is we're dreading. Anticipate or expect the worst. What, Carol?
I just dread the actual feeling of anxiety. You know, it's not a comfortable feeling. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is.
Whereas excitement is fun.
Can it become a pattern?
It's good that it's uncomfortable because it could be comfortable.
You know, if that's helping you get to the root of it, yes, it is good. Because then you're addressing the need that's underlying it. You know, there's always something underlying it. It isn't just our right now environment. It's all of our life, where things have been handed to us or we've tucked them away, have no idea what that is, why we're reacting to this in such a strong way. And we need to stop and evaluate that and hear it. Because you know, a lot of our problems, all of us in this room, I would say, we weren't heard enough. And we're still not giving that to ourselves. We're not hearing ourselves enough. So it's critical for you to begin to hear the dynamics behind it. You don't get anxious just, oh yeah, I'm just going to get anxious today. Something triggered it, something made you fearful, apprehensive, you know, all the things we have on our list here. And while that's happening, it's sucking the energy right out of you. And will put you in low blood sugar. If you didn't know that, anxiety will put you into low blood sugar. Because what's happening is this big adrenaline dump into your body. And that's what pushes you into low blood sugar. Is a high adrenaline at an inappropriate level. And if you didn't happen to eat or, you know, something, that's a lot of times why we do eat or overeat, is to calm the anxiety. Because it's numbing. And we can take on any kind of behavior to do that. To numb. That we want to numb. We don't really want to work on it. Because that's work. So it's time to work. It's time to listen and hear that little girl in there that all of her life kept her mouth shut because she didn't want to make waves or she didn't want to get hurt. And we find ways to live that we're still doing. even though we're not in that environment anymore. So, I think I stopped at anticipate or expect the worst. Some of us have been set up that way, and melancholies are really, this is a problem, is anticipating and expecting the worst because they're problem solvers. So, you know, I'm expecting the worst, and so how am I going to solve it so that doesn't happen?
So we have anticipation on the excitement side, but it would also be appropriate on the anxiety side.
Yes.
It's just what you're
That's true.
anticipating.
That's a good point.
One is positive things and the other is dreadful things.
That's absolutely right, and yes, we should have it. Do we have it on both
All
sides?
right, if we don't, I'll put it up there.
Okay. How about anxiety being an addiction to adrenaline? The only way I can get myself pumped up so I can get anything done is if I get really anxious, and then I've got all this adrenaline that I have to work out. It can be an addiction. I was addicted to my own body chemistry. My husband was addicted to his own body chemistry. So he had to stay angry all the time to keep up this level of adrenaline, that was more normal. It begins to feel more normal to be anxious and angry or whatever it is, because that's actually gives you a sense of control. But it is an addiction to body chemistry. Does anxiety make you want to stay in the situation? What does it do? Make you want to run, make you want to hide, make you want to isolate, get away from. How about this? Does anxiety make you feel that you have to fake how you feel?
Yeah.
We all have learned to be good fakers. And that's because we wanted to be socially acceptable. We don't want people to know if we're having that stuff going on, because we're supposed to have it all together, right? So, it's another thing of not letting you be who you are. You know, I keep saying to you, let yourself be, because that is what we haven't done. And as I said, at some point, I think earlier, often anxiety is prompted by a faulty belief system. If we believe certain things about ourselves, about our family, about our life, about the world, if we're looking through a smeared up lens, distorted lens, then we're behaving according to what we believe through that distorted lens. So it's a case of beginning to recognize how we're maybe skewed in our beliefs, that we're perceiving things differently than is reality. Does anxiety encourage you? No.
Shuts you down.
It discourages you and the people that you come around, because they pick it up and it can make them feel helpless or nervous, or see, they're going to be reacting to what they're perceiving from you. They don't know why it's there, but they can sense that it's there, and that's discouraging to them, and it's especially discouraging to you if you feel that people don't want to be around you that much. And it really is true that being anxious is normal to a degree. It's helpful to a degree. Like I said, tonight I had to have that adrenaline rush to act quickly. That's what anxiety is supposed to do, to get you ready to act. But the kind of anxiety we're talking about tonight isn't that kind of anxiety that prompts us to act. It's the same effect in the body, but it just keeps lingering and draining energy, draining your nutritional resources. you know, being anxious all the time, you better be taking some good B complex regularly. So, let me ask you, and I probably already answered this, can both happen at the same time? Be anxious and excited at the same time? Yes, it can. And in our picture here where it's, you see that crossover, this is talking about depression and anxiety. We're talking now about excitement and anxiety doing exactly the same thing. To where there's that place where, you know, whenever a person is a performer on stage, that kind of thing, they always are nervous. They are always anxious until they begin to act. They get out there and they're doing their thing, and they don't, and the anxiety dissipates. So we can learn from that when we're feeling anxious, we should get active in some way, get something done that maybe is playing on our mind. You know, I have this is something I haven't shared with you, but I've thought about it a lot of times. Having 5-minute projects all around you in your house, it would really only take you 5 minutes, but you don't stop and do it. You look at it, you go, later, or don't have time for that now, or, you know, whatever. But what if you took that 5 minutes and did one? How much better you're going to feel about you and your environment because you did something with your anxiety in a positive way. So next time you're feeling anxious, think about something that you can do physically that will make you feel better. It could be going out for a walk, but it could also be going through your winter or your summer clothes and cleaning out your closet. You know, some of those things, just 5 minutes, maybe, you know, 10 at the max. We have the timer we've talked about a lot of times. Set your timer for 15 minutes and work on something that you just have been kind of dreading doing, and you'll be surprised how good you feel once you actually get moving on it. So do you think we can confuse anxiety and excitement? Can we confuse them?
I guess you could.
I think we can, and we're shorting ourselves when we do that. So, you know, after I developed this, I was thinking more on the topic of it and realized that I was doing that more regularly than I realized. And so I would say, is this excitement or is this anxiety? And then I would evaluate it. And once in a while it would be both, but most often it was going to be one or the other. But to not label or name excitement what it is, and to not label or name anxiety what it is keeping you in this.
And
Our first thing is to be aware
it totally
be-
helps.
that it's actually happening to us, and then we can address it. It's when we're not aware and we're not addressing it that it just keeps working that way. One thing I would say about that as well, if you speak out loud, as you did, what is this, rather than just thinking it, but speak it out loud, or possibly write it down. What is really going on here? And I'll tell you what, I don't think we ever get so old that we don't have breakthrough times. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago I went, oh my, because something surfaced that I had forgotten, and it was something that I needed to recognize. That literally it was not on my radar at all. It was like buried so deep, and it shouldn't come up until this point in time because I wasn't healthy enough for it to come up. And that's important too, if we're not at a place where things can surface. But truth be told, I don't think you could make something, maybe a counselor, and that's not healthy either, could make you surface something that you're not ready to surface. And I don't like that idea. I think that having it happen organically, because you're given the information that helps you begin to think about it differently, is much more powerful. But throughout our lives, we're going to have something just all of a sudden go, whoa, 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 You know, and it was in a situation where I asked myself, why am I thinking about that particular scenario? And then it came up. Why? Why I was thinking about it, because it was one of the puzzle pieces, let's say, of something that had happened to me that was they were connected, but my psyche, my mental, emotional, physical being was not at a place where it would be good to recognize that. It made me angry at the time when I recognized it. I'm not going to even tell you about it just because it's something that isn't, you know, you don't want to share everything in your life. I do a lot, but sometimes it just causes people's minds to go somewhere where it's not good for them to go. So for that reason, I won't go into more detail than that. So, thoughts? Anything that particularly jumped out at you, blessed you, woke you up?
I have something written from the last couple times that we've done this, and for me there was like a confusion of what exactly it was, like years ago, and I would internalize everything, so I would be on that cycle thought thing. Could, you know, everybody could say think
Circular
something,
thinking.
think something happy or think happy thoughts. Nothing would get in there, but while I was in there, I would punish myself and take away the things that brought me joy. So I would stay in there longer because I wasn't worthy of listening to the music that makes me feel better, of looking at pictures, of whatever it was. And in my head at that time, even in feeling like I was in a healthy place in my life, if that thought got in there, it would just immediately take off and go back to old days of years gone by. And it's really hard to get out of it. And not knowing what the feeling was made it so blurred that I would stay in it longer because I couldn't identify what I was really feeling, because excitement would get my heart racing and I'd like maybe feel panicked. But I didn't realize that that could have been just pure excitement about something, so I would squash it and punish myself for feeling that way.
Well, and you said something that I think we all need to recognize that we don't often recognize is, would you treat someone else the way you're treating you? Would you do that? And that's what she's talking about, is why it's so powerful sometimes to say to someone, not stop it, stop feeling that way, you're just being, you know, nothing like that, but would you treat someone else the way you're treating yourself? Would you be as judgmental with them? Would you be as mean or thoughtless or rude? How often are we just flat out rude to ourselves, you know? Picking ourselves apart. So that's one of the things that jumped out to me, that very important to talk about. OCD, the behaviors are trying to release anxiety. That's what it's all about. Counting, flipping the light switch, saying the same thing over and over. It's to break the brain patterns up. Because you get stuck in this track of whatever it is, and so you go through these behaviors that calm that down. And it does actually work, but it only is very, very temporary, because it's not healing anything. It's not really working on the deeper issues. So once the deeper issues are worked on, the OCD will definitely abate. Yeah, not go away necessarily. I think melancholies are more OCD than anyone else. But it's something, it can settle down and not be so disruptive to your life. Good. Diane, you had something to say.
I don't know if anybody else felt this way, but I think it's kind of surprising to myself how easily I'm triggered. I didn't come in here tonight feeling anxious, but writing these words down and thinking about them and speaking about them, I felt my breathing getting shallower. I felt my anxiety rise.
That's not good.
Avoidance behavior
Yes.
is typical for pretty much everyone, unless you realize that's a problem for you and that's what you're doing. Is there something that you would be helped by expressing it to us about your anxiety or your excitement? Have you been confusing the two? Do you think your health has suffered from this, just kind of this storm all the time inside of you that is never really answered to be laid to rest? People that are chronically anxious do burn out their adrenals. Then that's your insulin, that's your adrenaline, all those things that are, they're just overdone. And so in, let's say 30 years, you've lived through 100 years of adrenaline in your system. That should have lasted that long, but your adrenals just finally give up. Jobs are stressful. I don't care what job it is. I mean, even if you love your job, there's going to be certain, if you're interacting with other people, there's going to be times that certain people you like, certain people you don't like, that kind of thing. Awareness makes the difference of recognize, because this won't push you into depression. This will. You know, but somebody walking around excited all the time too is like, they're breathless through life. That can get a little bit old too. I used to think that was the way I was supposed to be. Smiles and high energy and all that. And so I lived it, but it took a toll on me. So if you're confused about your temperament and confused about these two things, that can require energy from you. So we're trying to isolate and identify what some of the things that are going on. And it just occurred to me one day before I created this information, this is important. It's important for people to recognize when they're feeling excitement or they're feeling anxiety, because if they don't recognize it's important to see the difference, then they're not going to be able to enjoy their excitement. I recognized it when I was excited for something I was getting ready to do and I was feeling anxiety mixed with excitement, and I wasn't separating the two so that I could actually enjoy what was going on.